I want to go to some of the challenges of the contemporary country now, and especially the pandemic and its effect on small business, and especially in Victoria. And I'm joined now by Bill Lang again, who's the Executive Director of Small Business Australia. Good to talk to you again, Bill. Look, it's fantastic to see, particularly in Melbourne, which has obviously had the harshest lockdowns in the country, the CBD opening up, business opening again. But there are real problems out there. A lot of fears I see in Melbourne that areas like the CBD and Docklands are going to take a long, long while to recover.
Yeah, look, we've fallen a long way, Chris, and I've just walked through that area on the way over to your studio here in Melbourne, and we've got a long, long way to come back. Yeah, there's a few little green sprouts, but there's a lot more to be done and a lot more help that's needed.
Now, don't we need government to really push this along, especially given that the vaccine is being rolled out? Do we need government to be a lot more optimistic and pulling back the restrictions? I understand that Daniel Andrews is going to talk about extending his emergency powers further. Isn't that the wrong message at the moment?
Well, Chris, since your show started, they've just been extended here in the state or the colony of Victoria for another 9 months. So the upper house, so-called crossbenchers, have teamed up with the current autocrat, and it's been passed. So we've got 9 more months of emergency powers. So what does that tell people, particularly people in business and the consumers, about the level of confidence that our own government has actually got in their ability to take advantage of vaccinations, to take advantage of a new tracing system? You know, we've literally said, look, we can't accept anyone internationally coming into Melbourne. So we've got ongoing incompetence there. We had that inquiry at the end of last year, the so-called creeping assumption. But what we've got going on here now is the creeping resumption of autocratic power. And a lot of things happening from our perspective, which just appears to be a pure power play. For example, the 5-day Valentine's Day lockdown. 2 days before it was called, we were hearing from the government that we had gold standard hotel quarantine and tracing, gold standard 1 day, 5 down, lockdown number 3 the next.
But this is a problem here. Another 9 months of emergency powers. And as we know, this gives the state government enormous power to shut down and restrict people at will. Surely that if you need those powers in coming weeks, there should be a much shorter time frame. Surely it should only be imposed a month at a time. At the moment, we're just surrendering these freedoms and submitting to lockdowns around this country willy-nilly, sometimes based on one case.
And look, and continuing to withdraw from the emotional bank accounts of the citizens a level of trust in the government. So they need 9 more months. Why can't it be reviewed every month, for example? And yes, like telling us gold standard 1 day, then a couple of cases, we're locking the whole thing down. And of course, then we'll hear about some strain that's so virulent. Yeah, and what I found very interesting in recent days, Chris, in speaking with a lot of younger people, like the Valentine's Day lockdown, Chinese Lunar New Year, Valentine's Day weekend, very busy weekend, you know, up to $500 million lost. And the government couldn't even announce at the same time what the level of compensation would be for the businesses directly impacted by it. It was statewide. It wasn't just in Melbourne. Statewide, 6.5 million people, pretty much every business told to shut. And then when they finally announced some compensation, at best maybe 50,000 businesses can maybe get $2,000, yet there were 600,000 businesses, you know, impacted. Why can't they sort of walk and chew gum at the same time? If they're going to do this stuff, tell us what's going to happen. But look, this appears to be a continuous stream of making things up as they go along, the exercise of raw power. And the people in power are the people that design the big mega departments. You know, the current Premier is a former Minister for Health. So all of these issues that we've got is not just all they happen to be in government now. They've been in government for a long time. They've been ministers in the areas. You know, we are a very sick state. And it's not about the virus.
This breaking news that you've updated us on, that the emergency powers will be extended another 9 months, will bring to 21 months the period in which Victoria has been subjected to emergency powers. That is extraordinary. There's almost 2 years of emergency powers.
Look, sadly, probably with the exception or on a parallel with London, you would have to say that Melbourne in particular, once the world's most livable city, now is the world's most lockdown city and most unlivable city. And for the small business people, Chris, like these people aren't public servants. They're not working in big corporations. There's no guaranteed income coming in. They've borne the biggest financial cost, the biggest emotional cost, the biggest mental health cost. And we're about to see, particularly here in Victoria in coming weeks, we've already had tens of thousands close. There are going to be many more tens of thousands closing. A great big addition to unemployment as a result of people that have been on JobKeeper here in Victoria.
Yeah, it's a shocking...
This is a big mess, Chris, a big mess.
It's a shocking situation. Thanks for bringing us up to date with it, Bill. I appreciate it. Bill Lang there, who's with Small Business Australia.